Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer, and occasional rants on bottle openers, capitalism, and whatever else we feel like talking about. Movies, exactly. It's episode 350. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hi.
And Aadil.
Hey! 350, you say? Oh, I wish you would give me a warning. I would have been on time.
Let's crack open some beers. I've got two beers this evening. They're both only 330ml cans. But for my birthday, my mum brought me some cans from St Ives Brewery. Who she was down there for a weekend, so she thought, why not pick up something? I've never had anything from St Ives Brewery, but I've got two beers. One is called Hella, and it's a pale ale, and it's 4.2%, which I'm going to start with. I thought I'd do two because they'll go back pretty quickly because they're both very low percentage and they're both small cans. So the Hella, which is the pale ale, a traditional pale ale with extra flavour, dry hop to heighten senses and wake instincts like a storm approaching from the west. Okay, cool. Fine. I will crack this open. Lucy!
Yeah. I think I started talking about Christmas.
Yes.
And how it's just ridiculously elongated nowadays. Because I have a beer. I have Christmassy beers. Because the place I got them from, he said, we got them in early this year because last year they were late. And it's like, everything Christmas themed. If you have it after the day, it's it just loses its inherent value. People don't want to buy
All
it.
value
I would just say it's
completely
cheaper,
gone.
Which is
Cheaper?
Yeah, if you buy things after Christmas that are Christmas
Oh
themed.
yeah, but it's like this for the store selling it, it's not as good basically. But
I don't
yeah, so
care about them.
yeah, but I'm just saying that's the reason why I have this now. Because
What are you
it's
drinking,
not
Lucy? What you got? Who's it from? Where's it from?
I've got a Lervig Jule Bock. 4.7%. Doesn't really have any flavor text. Can't make out the hops or the malts. It's just a beer. It's a Bock.
I have one beer.
Yeah, a beer, sir. Of some description. Yes. It's a 330ml Bock.
Get it open, see what it's like. And Aadil, we'll come to you for what you flashed earlier of a hefty
Fancy
boy.
lad.
Yeah, so I've spoken the last couple of weeks about Hop Knocker, the mostly bottle shop, slightly brew pub that's like a few minute walk away from me. That's only open Thursday to Sunday, and they brought in a bunch of Jester King, and then the person who was gonna buy it didn't. So Jester King, I don't know if you're familiar with them. If you have heard of them, they're Austin, Texas brewery, and I have their year 10, a dry hop farmhouse ale brewed with triticale and oats. It's 1 pint. It's thunder crash and lightning flash, right hand slash and left a light, span sight, span time, echo forth in tandem rhyme. This fluid gate from solid state embalms a truth and cosmic mind. Jester King is a brewery, restaurant, farm, and event hall located in the beautiful Texas Hill Country on the outskirts of Austin. We brew what we like, drink what we want, and offer the rest to those who share our tastes. So this is batch number 1 of the year 10, October 2020, aged a couple years. Yeah, and the notes are, it's a dry hop farmhouse ale brewed with oat and triticale malt in celebration of Jester King's 10th anniversary. Embodies some of our favorite characteristics: herbal hop bitterness, total dryness, mixed fermentation, moderate strength, natural conditioning, and green glass. Thank you for supporting 10 years. And it's just a beer that I would never, ever have again, ever, generally, but also especially in the UK, because it's like, this is one of the few places that it came in from Texas. So I splurged on this, and then was like, I need to wait, because we are close to 350, and this is one of those things. And I don't know if you've heard of Jester King. I've only heard good things. Also, I don't know, will it autofocus? Look at that fucking cap,
that's
guys.
a nice
Look at that cap.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Audio listeners, sorry, fuck you.
I like
photos.
I like how Dr. Zeus wrote the flavor text.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
I mean,
Yeah, so they're like a full-on we do like they're like almost a commune. They just do their thing and
Yeah.
then sell their beer while doing their thing.
nice.
Nice.
Nice,
No, I
absolutely.
want.
That's I was going to echo that is some very good flavour text. Yeah. I went back to the can for the St Ives for the Hella. When Lucy, you said that you weren't getting any of the information about what's in the beer, and Aadil, I think you got a little bit of what's going on. This does just give me that it's got a Pilsner malt, a pale ale malt, oats and wheat, and actually it is a pale ale, but that Pilsner malt cuts right through. This is really clean, really, really crisp. It's got that kind of very lagery smell to it, a touch of dankness, but really malty. A touch bready, but not too much, and a little bit of sweetness. And then that flavour is really clean, really refreshing, but again, a much bigger than you're getting in the nose flavour of sort of a few little bits of bread, a really kind of, it's not quite metallic, but it's up in that level of sort of sweetness without being too acidic. It's got this nice cutting, sort of refreshing crispness to it. It's very, very easy. 4.2%. So nice and light. This is really easy drinking.
Yeah, that looks like a very crisp beer.
Yeah, and incredibly clear in the glass. It foamed up quite well. Had a big head, about an inch, when I poured pretty much most of the can into the bottle, and that head's sticking around as well. So that's, yeah, not much more to say about that really. But it's almost a little bit of a cross between a lager and a pale ale. So yeah, very nice so far.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Lucy.
Yeah.
How's was it a Bock or a Doppelbock?
It's a Jule Bock, which I've just been on Lervig's website. It's a classic Scandinavian style Christmas lager, brewed with caramel malts and a light hoppy touch. This is a real drinker and will hold up to the richness of your Christmas lunch. A true classic. We like it enough to say it should not be just for the Christmas season, but hey, that's what dark beers are suited for these days. I disagree. You should drink dark beers all year round.
Yep.
As this. But anyway. I mean, it being a lager, definitely. I don't know. I don't know if it makes me reassess my enjoyment of it. Because the reason I picked it up specifically was the same day I had a. Is it Einger? Whatever. Apologies, I don't know how to pronounce it properly. A winter Bock. The same day I had this, and I think that was doing more. That was doing more for me because I don't think this quite has the depth of flavour that the flavour text said.
Right.
I mean, it's slightly caramelly, slightly. I mean, I think the dark malts are probably what's standing out a bit more, but even with 4.7%, you're not getting many roasty notes or like dark fruit, raisin kind of taste to it. You're not really getting that either. It seems like a weak porter.
Okay.
I'm not even getting like the crispness of a lager, and like say with the dark malts that you would have in a black IPA, so to speak, or something like that. You're not getting a lot of the hops. You're not getting a lot of the crispness of a lager. And it's a bit weak. Which for 4.7%, not expecting the world, but still expecting a little bit more. A little bit more edge to it, a little bit more of that. Maybe caramel or roasted nuts or toffee or something,
some sort of depth, some sort of like secondary characteristics. Know what I mean?
Yeah, and it looks like, it's certainly, it's coming on the camera just very black, but
yes,
you can see like here it looks like a very deep red ale. There's a lot of light bleed and it's quite reddish.
Okay.
So I'm just expecting, a bit more earthiness, a bit more something that matches the winter season. But yeah, not getting it. I think I'd prefer to maybe opt for a red ale or something like that rather than this. It's just not bringing it in the ways that the flavor text would imply. So
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
bit of a shame, but it'll probably go back pretty quickly.
If you
Why
hadn't
not?
read the flavor text, is it just so?
Mm.
Is it you were disappointed that it isn't as it was espoused, or is it just kind of a flat, boring beer?
It's flat and boring because I had a little sip before I read
Yeah.
before I got the website up, so I was like, yeah, just add a bit more context of the Jule Bock. But
Right.
yeah,
So it's just
just not enough.
compoundedly bad, not just a misplay.
yeah, it just doesn't have the. As I say, I think a porter of this strength brings a lot more. Even from the coffee and the roasted malts. This just lacks it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
bit of a
That sucks.
bit of a
I echo that. Just going for a red ale or something. There was a time when we got a lot of rye red ales as well. Let's get those back. If you're listening, brewers, get some more rye. I don't know how easy it is to get over here anymore. I've got no idea.
Stop with the oats. Get the rye.
Yeah, get some rye in. Aadil, we'll come to you for the big beer.
Well, I mean, it's the bottle is big. It claims to be just a pint.
Oh.
And it's 5.8% is the thing I missed, but
so an American pint I think is 500 ml.
I mean, it says 1 pint, 9.4 fluid ounces. Well, that doesn't help. Goddamn Americans. While I do this, if someone wants to tell us what 9.4 fluid ounces is, but
I can certainly do that.
You can see just how it's slightly translucent. It's not quite transparent. You can see the details of my thumb more than I would expect. But it's not clear, say a crisp lager. It's just got a little bit of haze. It smells like a farmhouse. It's got that sort of more wild yeasty smell coming off of it. That
nice.
that tartness. And a bit of apple off of it as well.
Ooh.
Yeah. I wish, I lived in Bristol for a billion years and I still don't know apple varieties.
I mean, I don't either. And I've lived in the UK all my life, so.
Yeah, it's like a tarty apple juice almost on the nose.
Pink Smith, Lady Smith.
Pink Lady Gala.
Granny
Smith.
Pink Lady Smith Black Mambazo. Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah.
Those are the ones. 9 fluid ounces. Did you say 9 fluid ounces?
9.4.
9.4 is about 277 milliliters.
That can't be right.
278. Yeah. Maybe it's 19, which would be 573 milliliters, which is more
that sounds more.
pints.
That sounds like what is a U.S. pint in mil? No, it's less. According to Google, it's only 473 mil. You know what? It doesn't matter. It's a big bottle, and it's filled at least this fucking left-handed giant We Are beer glass, and there's plenty left.
Good.
Which is 2/3 of a pint.
Yeah, but what's a pint? We've just discovered it means nothing.
It's
this
a
is really
measurement of beer.
tasty.
I mean, it looks like a crisp Granny Smith apple.
It tastes crisp, not quite Granny Smith. Yeah, again, it's got that farmhouse characteristic, but it's got the backbone of a solid ale. In the sense that it feels like a beer, and then it's got layered on top of it is this slightly appley, and then very farmhouse sort of wild yeasty flesh. I said backbone around flesh around backbone. That's a weird metaphor.
I'm thinking of ribs now.
It's really crisp, but what I really like about it, it's quite effervescent, and so that crispness kind of bubbles in your mouth, and then as it fades, there's that tanginess from that yeast that sits, and that appliness goes away a bit, but you're left with the sweetness from that fruit.
Yeah.
So you just have this slight sweetness and that tartness from the yeast slowly fading together. So it's still primarily tarty, and a bit sweet. And that sweet makes it so you don't feel like you're being dried out or like too soured by that tardiness. And again, it's not sour; it's just tart, right? It's that sourness you get from yeast and yeast alone, rather than the other things.
Mm.
And that sweetness is just it's just there so that I can enjoy it and not feel like I have to re-quench. This, I mean, obviously this is the wrong time of year to have such a refreshing sharp beer, but it's so good it doesn't matter. It's like
I buy those beers all year round from whoever's making these mixed ferment. I've got like a Dale one down there because I don't think I've tried any of their mixed ferms.
I didn't know they'd done any.
I was gonna say this is news to me.
Yeah, they have a mixed fermentation tap room, so like next to their main one. So yes, I've been wanting to go there.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah, rail strikes. Might have to sleep on the brewery floor.
Yeah.
Just sleep in a vat of beer and just drink it. Just in the mash tun. Yeah, in the warm mash tun, just sleeping. But I love that kind of style. You don't see enough of it, and they made the journey. Especially in a green bottle.
Yeah,
done well.
It's really refreshing, but again, it has that depth and that interplay that, like, sure, I'm in Durham. It's been cold and wet for many weeks. You would think I would be like, darker beer, please. But this is working phenomenally because it's just such a quality beer, and it's just interesting and it's got depth, so that even though it's sort of a light ale, it's not out of place regardless of the weather, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Honestly,
it's really good.
Incredibly jealous.
I will say this now. Now I'm gonna have to go back to the bottle shop and say, so you had a whole shipment of Jester King, and I bought one of the things. Because I'm super curious with what other things these guys are doing.
Yeah,
I've heard about them, but I obviously hadn't tried it before. And honestly, this is like exactly what I want out of a farmhouse ale. It's like unique in a way, but without leaving the clear category of farmhouse.
Is it quite funky, or is it?
No, so I guess that's the one thing is I think
quite clean.
It's clean. It's crisp, not quite clean. So there is like a bit of not quite muddiness, but there's not like this is the taste gone, right? It's not that clean. I think it's because that like sweetness and that tartness sort of linger and ebb and flow, so you don't have these like strong orders. Anyway, it's really good. Given that it's a 2020 limited edition batch thing, I can't say go find it in your store, but like seek these guys out. I'm sure whatever else they do is great.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen them here in Bristol.
I only knew of them from like the internet. I didn't know you could even get Jester King in the UK.
Be interesting to see who's importing it over here and where they're located, because it might just be I'm importing X amount. It's only distributed within this like 20-mile radius.
That's kind of the vibe I got, where it's like they just had these, especially the specialty one, because someone had asked for, like, I think they were like, we have access to this, what do you want? And then someone backed out of a sale.
Yep.
And then I reaped the rewards.
Nice.
Perfect.
I mean, with my pocketbook, let's not pretend it was cheap.
I've just opened a second bit. Because that first one went back just incredibly quickly.
Oh, wow.
Wait, did you finish a beer while I was rambling?
It's gone.
Fucking Christ, this is episode 350.
Well, it did look like very easy and very...
It was very easy. It is very easy. I've got 2 games I need to talk about. Not just one game this week. 2 games.
Oh, good. One of them can be my input.
That I need to jump into.
And you can have the floor.
Yeah, thank you.
Before
I do so, I've just opened. I think it's Meor, Meor, which is an IPA from St Ives. There's a little bit of flavour text. A classic ale rounded out with juicy fruit and spicy bitterness. A modern session IPA from the home of the golden sunset and pumping waves. It's 4.8%. This also has Pilsner malt and pale ale malt along with oats and wheat. So let's see what they've done differently, whether things have been dialed up or not. It looks very, very similar.
Yeah.
A little more hazy.
Yeah, I no longer believe you finished that beer. Like, I opened another beer. Look, it's the same one.
It's
Camera pins down, and there's just a bunch of cans in front of him. He's like, it's this one now.
It's a touch hazier. That's it. It's maybe a little more golden rather than straw as well. A bit more fruity on the nose.
Okay. Looks like
not a big...
bit more head.
Yeah, a little bit more head.
A bit more body
as well. A bit more body, perhaps. Yep. Not a big nose, though. Very, very, very light. Nowhere near as crisp as the first beer. It's a lot more subdued. But I'm getting the fruit, and it's maybe a little bit of orange, maybe a touch of... maybe not other sort of citrus, but maybe something more like some dialed back kind of melon, as well as a little bit of orange. Not a huge flavour on this one, but I'm not getting any of the spicy bitterness that it says. We'll see as I drink through this, and I'll talk about this one more towards the end of the episode. 330 mils really don't go very far, do they, these days?
No. Yeah, mine's almost finished.
Yeah.
I would go and get my other Christmassy beer, but that might be Christmas overkill.
Wait till Christmas, Lucy. I did pick up some Christmas beers as well the other day, so I got a few to rattle off in the coming weeks. But I will jump into the couple of games that I played. Both are DLC for games I've already talked about. So the first is called Finding the Flowzone, which is the latest DLC for OlliOlli World.
Alright, okay. I was like, what game is this?
Yeah, I had would never have predicted that one.
Absolutely. If you hadn't have had OlliOlli World afterwards, Finding the Flowzone could be absolutely anything. But suddenly it's like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's more OlliOlli World. Of course it is. It's not going to reinvent that game massively. But it does add in a few elements which I'm enjoying in how it affects the levels. So they've thrown in basically wind. And the idea is that you go through this level, you do some grinds, you do some jumps, and suddenly get to a point where there is just this big gust of wind which might just throw you up into a higher area or push you a little bit further. And OlliOlli World does a good job of giving kind of hidden or alternative routes in some of these levels, and they're quite hard to get. You've got to be quite precise with your jumps, or when you jump off of a grind, or missing a grind and jumping instead, and things like that, to be able to access these. And this just adds another dimension to that like level of mastery, I suppose.
Okay. So is it there to hinder you, or is it like low gravity on like Tony Hawk?
It's almost like you're skating along, you do a grind, you jump, and you hit this wind which is pushing you up. Other games, it's kind of like, here's a fan in the floor which will just give you some boost and set you high. And all it really does is it pushes you just that little bit. But I'm starting to find that I'll do a grind along a rail, and the wind will push me the other way. So I'm grinding back along the same rail. So there's lots of back and forth in these levels as well. So, whereas OlliOlli World's levels were this big, kind of Finding the Flowzone can kind of be this big, because it hits you back and forth that little bit more. But the idea with Finding the Flowzone is that there's a world collectible map pieces for you to be able to find Radlandia, which is this kind of mythical place where everyone loves to go and skate, right? And you have to collect all of the map pieces. I think there's about 36. So there's 3 per level, so there's about 12 levels to run through in this new DLC. I have currently only found one per level, but I can see loads more. I just haven't worked out how to get to them yet. And it must be being able to hit those alternative routes. Where OlliOlli World was play this level again, improve on your score, do these objectives, do this fun thing. Finding the Flowzone almost makes me feel like it's a bit more explore this level. You're not kind of just trying to get through with the best combo. You're trying to look for those alternative routes. You want to be able to go, right, I see that there's a wind boost here. If I do it poorly, maybe if I jump the other way when it happens, or I direct myself the other way, what happens when I do that? It seems to me that it wants me to kind of explore that little bit more.
Yeah. Into Super Mario World, basically.
Oh yeah, almost. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's still got that inviting, no, definitely do better, or come and do these objectives on the level, because they're all, the levels are structured in the same kind of way. Get a high score, beat these characters' scores on the level to get a cosmetic item, do these objectives to get a cosmetic item. So it's all very, very familiar. But just adding that little bit of wind and giving me hints of where some of these puzzle map pieces are, kind of has me going, ooh, how do I get there? I can't do it this way. There's no way that I'm like, oh, there's another puzzle piece. Start the level again. Don't worry about the score. I'm doing really well. Sack the score off. I'm not bothered by that. Let's try and see where I'm going with this. So it just changes the perspective of how I'm experiencing the game, which is
That's
impressive.
What you want DLC to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Impressive in sort of changing that mindset and that perspective. But I absolutely bashed my head against the first two levels because to get back into that control scheme was maybe a little harder than I thought it would be. When I saw that the DLC was coming up, I'm like, yes, let's get a code for that. I'll jump straight back into it. Nope. Playing that game through from the start and learning how to, or relearning how to grind and jump and switch and turn and all of these kinds of things works really well in the original game to build you through that. So when you get to the point where you've learnt everything, you are very fluid at being able to do it. Coming back to that, I'm like, oh shit, the character's doing a grind and they've just had those little like exclamation marks around their head, which means I can switch. How do I do that again? And it's just press X, basically. Press X and press a different direction and he switches the grind. And I'm like, and I just fall off. I'm like, oh, bollocks. Start again. The first two levels just took so long for me to get past. But once I'd done it, I'm like, suddenly it just clicks again.
Right.
I think, great. I can remember how to do this.
It's to play OlliOlli World for like 10 years straight, and then it's just ingrained in you to the point where you can't play any other skating game.
Yes,
as
absolutely.
I did with Tony Hawk. So, yeah.
Yeah, somehow I'm the only person who spent more time on Skate than Skate 3 specifically than any other skating game, and it's like, that doesn't translate to Tony Hawk well. Or OlliOlli. Yeah. Great, cool. I guess I'll just suck.
Yeah, that was my experience with Skate. So I love skating games. Were just I couldn't play it because I was like, "This is not Tony Hawk." My brain does not filter down to my fingers that control scheme.
The thing I like about Skate isn't the thing most people like about skating games, because I liked how you could just like plop ramps and like open world build nonsense and see how to fuck how to but like Skate had a bit more flexibility, and like there wasn't, I think, to be honest, I think probably the reason why people moved to that is because the level design wasn't as good as Tony Hawk, so you like had to do it yourself.
I mean, have you made like a 500-foot rail that just goes round and round and round?
Oh yeah.
And round?
But I've also made things that clip me through things that I shouldn't clip through to see if I could hit the sub-ocean beneath the world or launch myself into space.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's maybe where like OlliOlli World goes next. Like
Space?
No, not space necessarily. Finding the Flowzone is in the sky. It's all about being at in the cloud, so you're above everything
they're just-
else.
Free copying Breath of the Wild 2.
Yeah, but more in the like create your own
Right.
scenario. Whether they would build this like editor that you could do, I could absolutely see them going down that route and suddenly going,
Polymaker.
cool. Here's the newest DLC. It's hit. People are still playing the game. We've got X amount of people that have come back to it. Perfect. Let's put out a park editor where people can just jump in.
Doesn't this have some like multiplayer stuff? Hence the world.
It does. So there are, there's leaderboards on all of the on all of the levels. But there's also kind of is it daily? Like one level, you get seeded with 11 other players, I think, and then you basically just try and do the best on that set level. And that changes. It's a different 11 players that you're seeded against every time that level changes. So there is that multiplayer aspect to it, but it is more a kind of just beat the score kind of thing. It's not you're seeing other players kind of in and around the space doing stuff. It's not like an online skate or kind of thing. I think that's absolutely fine because of the perspective, because of the 2D nature of it. It would get very, very confusing because it's so fast and so twitch that if you did a jump and you were about to hit a grind and someone just appeared from the other side and took your focus away, it'd be very easy for you to miss that.
Been like 100 Mario levels or whatever, or Mario 35 or whatever. It's actually
It would be a different beast.
It would be a very different beast.
Yeah. The net code probably would be whinged about.
If Nintendo can do it, anybody can. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. On
someone
the
had to fight
specific notion
Nintendo
of
to
net
get that
code,
as well.
Yeah. If Nintendo has managed to make anything functional on the internet, then anyone and their dog could do it, because boy, are they crap at that.
Yep.
Well, that's it.
I said dog, not cat.
Yeah, that's it, OlliOlli World devs. Roll 7 just knocking it out this year as well with their releases. But if you're listening, anyone from Roll 7, that's it. That's what you've got to do next. A park editor or a level editor and some kind of I can see other people multiplayer 4,000 characters on the screen at once all doing an ollie at the same time.
One game I
next.
played and enjoyed. Wasn't it that side-scrolling one? Not a hero. That was like a action platform.
Oh, you mean by Roll 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, Not a Hero is good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
I definitely didn't finish it, but that's because I don't finish games, not because it's a bet.
Well, I think that was one of the things I took away from Rollerdrome, was that you can see the DNA of Not a Hero and OlliOlli World as well, or OlliOlli within Rollerdrome. Absolutely building on that kind of very fluid gameplay that they are absolutely skilled at being able to put together. And Rollerdrome in itself is a very different beast from both of those games, while still having that DNA with them.
I mean, your description of Rollerdrome really made me want to play it at least once.
Come around my house, you can play. No,
yeah, I'll
wait.
just pop around.
Just jump on the train.
Oh, actually, I mean, this is like totally inappropriate for a podcast, but I might come by Bristol back in the weekend of the 10th of December.
Cool.
If y'all are free, let me know.
We're here.
Okay.
We don't go anywhere. Oh no, we are going somewhere at the beginning of December, not the 10th, the weekend before we're away. But that's fine. Cool. Perfect. A nice segue to jump into the next game that I have been putting some time into. And again, DLC.
Visiting friends.
So I've been given a code for Bloody Ties. So we started off with Finding the Flowzone. That was with OlliOlli World. But Bloody Ties. What do you guys think that might be with?
I assume it's...
I know what it is, but...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Hitman DLC.
Yeah.
There's a red tiger, even redder.
I assumed it's just about like an enthusiastic dresser at a clothing shop.
That's it.
Just pulls them ties a little too
Exactly.
tight.
It's Agent 47 in the Garrick role from Deep Space Nine. He's just now a fake tailor / assassin.
So yeah, I guess the problem there is the ties would have to be like garrote sinewness. Otherwise, he would just be
like
strangling
what is this?
them, and you wouldn't have.
It's like an elastic tie. It's not even one you do up. It's like elastic, or
Yeah,
it
but
looks
that's
at
not
least
gonna-
like elastic, but it's just garrote wire.
Right. The thing is, you need it to be the wire, otherwise it's not bloody. It's just strangulation, and
Yes.
that's not bloody ties. That's just killing ties.
That's true. That's true.
Um,
I don't know.
the
So
bloody ties.
I'm gonna tell you because I've got to get into it. It's Dying Light 2.
Yeah.
I
know.
You knew. It's fine.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that came out this year. If you didn't know.
Dying Light 2 came out this year.
Oh, I'm aware, but like Dying Light 2 Bloody Ties?
Yes, it's the first like story DLC that they've released, and it's about like how best to describe it.
Relationship ties,
Well,
familial ties.
Kind of. You're
It's
kind
just
of
that
thrown
bad.
into so within Villador, the city, there is now this like arena combat place, so you can go and
Mad Max.
try out for for this like fighting pit basically.
That is a.
That's just gladiator.
Is there anything more video game than that?
Absolutely
It's
not.
like
Absolutely
DLC in
not.
an open world game. We're just gonna have this
I mean,
fight,
Yep.
Thunderdome.
Thunder,
Yeah.
yeah, completely. But the characters that you meet are father and son. There's other characters like
Just God of War ripoff.
the brother was killed. So there's like lots of story around that, but they haven't delved too much into it. So this is just like first impressions. It's more Dying Light. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel with that game. A game that maybe I took to a bit quicker than going back to OlliOlli World to go, oh yeah, this is familiar, boom, let's go. I don't know whether that's just the kind of action, because I've been playing a lot of Valhalla, whether it's
right,
just
I
the
forgot about that.
action genre that I'm like, okay, cool, it's first person rather than third, but a lot of this is very similar. Great.
you also if I recall correctly, liked Dying Light 2 because it was like just the thing. Like it wasn't like it excelled specifically, but it was like it scratched the itch that you wanted in that genre.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think this is more of it's more of the same essentially. And I'm at a story point where I could very easily just go off and do this now. So I'm like, cool. I'm at a point where like we have to make a decision quick. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go and do this DLC stuff over here instead. I don't worry about that decision kind of thing that I've got to make. But the first stages of that, you get into some pit fights and you do some stuff, and then it's like, right, now go around the city and do these challenges. And it's like, cool, I'm up for that. I like the challenges in Dying Light 2, that's fine. And they dial it up a little bit. I don't know whether they expect you to be a much higher level, or for people to have like completed the game to then come back to this with that level of skill that comes with that. Because again, it's one where I went into an interior space of a building and had to collect some things, and it's like, here's a gun. I'm like, oh cool, I haven't had a gun, brilliant. And it's just pop, and as soon as they're alerted, you're just swarmed constantly. So you've got to be like quick on your toes and move about and popping them off with this gun constantly. Like it's tense. It's like
talking about
constant.
quick in that game.
And yeah,
I'd die.
I liked it. I liked that level of challenge for it, and it took me maybe 2 or maybe 4 attempts at that combat one. I think there's a like traversal speed run kind of thing, get through the city as fast as you can kind of thing. That took me a couple of times, and then one which is some zombies are going to rush you and they're going to explode and you'll die, but you've got to kill 20 of them before they can get to you. Here's a crossbow. I'm like, cool, crossbows are cool. And that kind of...
The number being like a goal is so specific to this genre. And
Yes.
I think it explains exactly how it's satisfying but rote.
Absolutely. But it also this is an open world game, but for these parts, we're going to put you into this nice, very limited space that you can't escape from. And as soon as you've hit 20, doesn't matter if there's 10 more over there, you're just transported magically away.
It's not about killing zombies. It's about achieving your goals.
Exactly. I mean, on one hand, I like the level of challenge that they've given, but on the other, I think there could have been a better way to implement it into the open world, as they've done with almost everything else. Like you're in the open world for that game. You're never really transported away to kind of do anything. If there's a challenge, it's like, just do it, mate. Just get on with it. Like,
is this DLC free? Because I know they put out a ton of free DLC for the first game.
No, it's not free. Where is Steam?
Because for something as as rote as this, you'd just think, just free update. Here you go, nothing else out. But I think if it doesn't offer much beyond that, depending on what the price point is it worth it?
It's £8.
Yeah, especially with that audience being accustomed to getting free stuff, it may be hard to, handbrake turn. We're going to go in another direction, and is this the first DLC they put out for this game?
So it's the first story DLC.
Right.
They put out.
Okay. Yeah. If this is the, the introduction to paid DLC, and might be a bit of a awakening for people.
Potentially. I'm just trying to find how long does it take to beat the DLC. Bloody Ties is about between 8 to 12 hours, let's say.
Okay. That's me too.
So it's significant.
And how much was it? £8?
£8,
so like
yeah.
an hour?
That's more than fair. Yeah.
Maximum?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
No, and I think because it's not sort of we've taken you away from the main story and here is now the DLC that you experience. It's more of it's intertwined with the open world. Whilst the challenges take you out of the open world, at least you're running through the open world to get to where the challenge kind of starts. And you could, as I've done with the main story, park that, let's go and do this thing over here. You could do exactly the same with the DLC and just flow through different parts of this game. And I think that's one of those where you're like, yes, it's 8 hours, but actually if I'm still doing a bunch of stuff within the world, this is just, it's extending my play by 8 hours. And Dying Light was already, from the weird kind of press releases, like a million hours. You'll never leave this game. This is the only game you'll ever play forever.
That's actually really interesting that the first story-bound DLC is like 8 to 10 hours. After they're like, what if you would have to be 7 contiguous people to even enjoy this entire game? But also, our DLC is a workday.
It's even more ironic.
Workday to not quite an Amazon worker's workday. It's like in the range.
But it's even more ironic because and I'm sure even the people who played it forgot Dying Light came out this year. So the fact that they were touting that it was like 1,000 hours it'll take over your life, it's just like, did it? Did it even come out this year? What is that game? That was just stupid marketing, and obviously probably not, directed from the actual people making the game.
Yes, yeah, potentially.
Like you will live and die in this game. Like,
it was a February release.
Someone's put 1,000 hours into it then.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely people who have played a lot of time.
It was that horrible time for anyone who wasn't Elden Ring, right? Like,
yeah.
And like the fact that they bragged about the length without having the depth that with Elden Ring on the table was like,
because that is.
So now you are just obviously padding. There's no comparison. Like that's. I remember the vibe at the time.
I think they said that you'd have to play through multiple things, multiple playthroughs to see everything. I think that's what they were trying to get.
Yeah,
at,
there
which is
are
all the
decisions that you can make in the world to sort of say, I'm going to align more with the survivors, or I'm going to align more with the PK, who are the sort of authoritative kind of figures. So that
Well, then,
that
every
alignment
game's
does
a
lock
1,000
stuff
hours
off.
then.
Yeah.
You know, like I could play Telltale's Walking Dead, which is a 2-hour episode. If I choose a different option every dialogue choice, it's going to be a different game, and then it's 1,000 hours. So
Yeah. I just had a quick look through the reviews on Steam. The highest I have seen so far from someone who has reviewed the game is 178 hours.
not even
Oh, so
well.
they
just
don't know
under
what the game's about. They've
Yeah,
just done the
they
introduction.
got no idea. Most people are around 50 odd hours. There's a lot that are more,
So
but
20th.
Ooh, that's actually
196. I've just seen.
if most
So
people are at 50,
150?
that's actually kind of an indictment of a game that's bragging about its longevity, right?
Well, I mean, sort of, because it's kind of I've decided at 50 hours I'm going to review this. Am I done with the game
Right.
potentially?
I,
Oh
I
my
guess
god!
I just mean like if you felt like you've seen enough of the game to like talk about it when it's supposed to be this epic thing, 50's a small number.
Very much. It's also.
But also, I don't think doing all the things in that game is getting a sense for the game. I think this speaks to the fact that you understand how the game works at 50 hours.
It's not
And the fact that they've bragged about 1,000 is like just this disconnect is just evidence of the thing we talked about months ago when they were like, oh, 1,000 million years.
Yeah.
10 lifetimes.
But it's not like people have got 100 odd hours in, and it's all roses. There's negative reviews where people have played over 100 hours of this game as well.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
To then give a I don't, unless it's like an update and it fundamentally messes with the game. Say like Magic the Gathering, and they push an update and it's like breaks the game or something, and then you give a negative review. I don't understand playing a game for 50 hours,
And then
something that doesn't have a tail, you know. So it's
like, so
not
50
a
hours
life-
in, it turns out I've never liked this. It's like, why the fuck did you spend 50 hours
yeah,
then?
like how is that even possible? Give a negative review of something. I can't. If it's not a live game and it doesn't get like updates, who is that person? What did that review say?
I can find one
Cliff
that says, okay, I wonder whether it's continuous and not when, because it says, so there's a review here.
Can it tell you the time, the amount of hours they put in at the time of review?
I'm just going to click on the review to see what information I have, because there's a review here that says 108 hours on record, 7.2 hours at time of review.
Yeah.
Then that's not. Yeah. So was the review positive or negative? Because if it was negative, fucking.
It's negative. In my 7 hours, I've encountered several bugs and blah blah.
So
blah.
I hated this after 7 hours, and then I've played a subsequent 93 or more, and am not gonna fix my review. Is that the
potentially? I'm gonna have a look at one that's
like buggy,
70.
I can get it if you're willing to tolerate it and you enjoy the core game, but it's just like there was a ton of bugs game. I can understand that.
Yeah, I feel like. I guess where I stand is like if you reviewed it at like some absolute value of hours, and then you've done like a factor of 10 more, you kind of have to say something, especially if it's negative, because why the fuck would you have done 10 times as much in this game if you hated it or like disliked it? And like it,
there's no accountability on Steam. Yeah.
I mean, completely.
There's no moral
completely.
compass
that's
for
our first
anybody.
T-shirt that we're gonna push or something, because like good lord, yes.
No moral compass.
Again, there's a review
shame.
here which is 115 hours on record. The review was given at 11.7 hours. They've played 4.4 hours in the last 2 weeks, so whether they've gone back for DLC or not, it could just be they've jumped back in, or potentially DLC. But the review is negative, talking about the texture quality of things, and not something that I've kind of come across. But maybe in time the game will be better optimized. And I changed my review. They haven't changed their review.
Maybe it hasn't been better optimized.
Maybe it hasn't. But they played another fucking 104 hours of it.
That kind of thing I can sort of get. But if it's like the structure of the game or the content of the game, then it's like, yeah, you are a nutter if you're giving a negative review than playing another 600 hours of this.
But yeah, that's Bloody Ties as it stands at the moment, and the state of Dying Light 2 on Steam. I'll give some more information next week. It's probably what's going to take up most of my time for the next week, depending on how much time I actually get. But at 8 hours, I think it's one that I'd like to see through, because Dying Light 2 is such a big game. I'm not kind of trying to rush through the story, but I think I would prioritize. Now I know that this is a nice quest line or a big chunk of the game, and it's going to hit about 8 hours. I'm like, cool, I'll do that. So it's actually an easy way to get me back into it. Again, at £8, it's an interesting kind of price point to think, let's try and entice a few more people back into the game who maybe dropped it a little bit early, and saying, look, yes, this game, it has hours and hours and hours of content, and it might take you 50 hours to do the main quest, but just 8 hours of your time, give us that, we'll get you back into the game, and then you might continue playing the rest of it. Or
that 1,000.
Absolutely. Or how many people finish the game and then want more? There must be kind of a little bit from both camps that they're sort of aiming for in here. I'm definitely the first, like, played a little bit, dropped it, and
release it though. Like, when did it come out? Last week?
The 10th.
Isn't that like around God of War time or something?
The 9th it came out. Yes, that was around God of War time. Yes, absolutely. So Dying Light 2 came out around Elden Ring time, Horizon Forbidden West, and
I remember because you were like, "Oh, I'm doing this," and Lucy and I were like, "But what is this nonsense?"
Yeah.
Yeah, there are dragons and stuff to slay.
Wait, have you killed a dragon yet?
No, I haven't gone back to it. Like, I've been wanting to.
I still remember our conversation where it was like, "Oh, we play this game so differently because I fucking figured out how to kill that first dragon so quickly." It's like, I think I'm ready. Let's do this. And you're like, why would I fucking waste my time fighting that dragon? I could go this over here. And it was like, this is why this game is really great, because we are both like enamored with this, and we are clearly approaching it very differently.
Yeah. I didn't even know there was a run button for like 50 hours, so I was playing it very differently to most people. I want to get back to it before the end of the year.
Yeah, so that's like on my list of like, look, I obviously, viewers know that I haven't been playing any games for a while, but that's a game I want to like tune back into specifically because I want to be clear about what made it amazing to me, and like my set of games is very small this year, and it was like, it immediately was like, this is a game I'm not gonna forget, and I want to like pursue, but
refresh that
happened. Yeah, so I want to be able to talk purely about it.
Same, because like I've played some really good games since then, but in terms of like thinking this is what games can be, like thinking like 20 years ago this was unfathomable, just to what it is now. It's just like I think that's going tough. Spoilers. If there was any doubt what's going to be top of mind, Aadil's this. You're coming to that episode to see what Ben's is. Ben's going to go like left field.
Oh yeah,
he's going to have like a mobile indie game.
Yeah,
that's a Florence-like or something on top of his. Yeah.
Florence-like is what a great just term that makes me excited for very like the world needs more Florence-likes.
It does.
I haven't played games in a while. My life is busy. It's busy in a way that it hasn't been for a while, and I think in episode 350, I am now in the place where I was for a large chunk of this podcast, where because of like PhD guilt and bouncing around the world, I wasn't. Look, somehow I have lasted as a co-host on this podcast where many weeks I have not played games.
Because
And
we
in
just
the
can't
past couple
figure
of
out how to
years,
get rid of you.
sorry.
We tried sending you off to Durham with no internet, and you still.
It turns out you guys have to be explicit because I'm that dumb and you can't take a hint.
That's why we said get the job in Durham.
Yeah, fuck off. But so why I wanted so like one of the themes of this podcast is Aadil scrabbling for something to talk about because he hasn't played a game. But it's been really interesting to have not been disinterested or like dissuaded, just not finding the time, which is like functionally different, but also just like we've talked a bunch over somehow 350 episodes about like the ebbs and flows of gaming and like how it is as a hobby, and I'm super impressed that Ben has managed to still like steer the out of live ship and like do assign review codes and get through somehow 2 games this week while also being super busy at work and having doubled the amount of children in this household recently. And I'm like, I have a job finally. I can handle fucking shit.
I mean, yeah, just 4 hours of sleep a day. That's the key.
Oh my god.
So when I did my philosophy degree full time, while I was a full time employee of a university and like tried to hold down friendships, hobbies, and a relationship, my solution was 5 hours a day of sleep for 3 years. But I was in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been able to do that. I need like 12.
I mean,
no matter what.
4 hours of sleep, and then get up at like, I don't know, 6, and I'm not going to bed at 2. By the way, it's just 4 hours because babies get up in the night and you're awake for a little bit, and it's very broken and stuff like that. Yeah.
Contiguous.
4 or 5 hours. Get up at 6, and then it's the way to win the day is 3 coffees before 7 o'clock.
Oh man,
that's the only way I can function.
I'm drinking less coffee because I have less consistent access. I haven't figured out how to like. Basically, what I need to find is a coffee shop near my
Like
place.
good coffee, yeah.
Yeah, good coffee that I can buy like ground. So the problem is, if I'm drinking coffee at home, I always buy beans. But at work, that doesn't help. So I just don't take beans. So now I need to find ground coffee or grind coffee I mean, I'm not going to grind coffee and take it to work. What am I, some sort of weird asshole who plans things?
Working at university, everyone's like that.
So I need to because
everyone's wearing like the jackets with the suede elbows.
No, it's leather patches.
Tweed.
Yeah,
tweed and leather patches.
It's tweed with I'm actually impressed. Look, no elbow patches. I'm cool. I'm still hip. But yeah, it's a weird thing where I'm working harder and I could use the caffeine boost, but I haven't found the balance of like. The first few weeks, I just bought like a thing of instant coffee,
right?
And then at the same time, someone was like, "Oh, I have an extra kettle. Does anyone want it? Otherwise, I'll just put it in the postgrad room." And I was like, "Fuck those postgrads! Give me that kettle." And then suddenly I realized that every time I was thirsty, I was just making an instant coffee, which meant that I like went through this like big thing of instant coffee, and then when that ran out, I was like, "Oh, I don't want to continue having instant coffee," but also now I'm not having coffee every day. Oh, I need to figure this out.
Get it figured out. That's the key to life. Key to my life, at least. Shall we finish out there for the episode, Lucy? I note that we haven't got to a couple of games that you played, but maybe we will focus more on what you've been playing next week.
Yeah, next week, because I've just been playing Pentiment and I haven't finished it yet. So yeah, next week.
Perfect. Perfect. When you finished it, we can talk about it. So the beers. I didn't talk much about the Meor from St Ives Brewery. a bit of a disappointing beer, or disappointing because I didn't know what to expect, but they didn't do very much. There was a little bit more fruit than the Heller, but this is a great beer. The Heller, it instantly impressed. Nice, crisp, clean. A little bit more of a pilsner than a pale ale, or a little bit of a mix in between sort of the two of them. But a really good sessionable beer that was just very, very enjoyable. Whereas the Meor just lacked a bit of depth. It lacked a bit of flavour. It's a little bit bigger, but it's still only 4.8. But calling it an IPA, I think, makes you think it's going to be that bit bigger. It's going to have a lot of fruit and be a bigger taste. But it wasn't. It's a little bit more subdued. It's a little bit not as the head suggested, and it being maybe a bit more full-bodied and viscous. It wasn't that from the Heller. So yeah, not quite as good. But the Heller is a really good beer. So yeah, the top pick for me this week. Lucy, we'll come to you.
Yeah, it failed to impress. I mean, I think it was about £2.50. So this is what you buy your family if you're buying drinks for Christmas. You give them this, which is like, yeah, it just didn't do enough. Didn't have enough depth. I'm not expecting the world from a 4.7% beer that is labelled as a lager, a dark lager, but expecting more from that style, even if it's just a lager, or if it's a dark beer, expecting more dark malts on the flavour, and just even the aroma. You want something, but it didn't do it for me.
It's one of those where you're sat at Christmas, you're just thinking about opening up that 14% Imperial Stout. It's cost you like 10 quid. And you're like, someone's going to want some of this. What can I do? Oh, let's get the £2.50 4% black lagers or black IPAs or these other beers that are definitely like, oh, it's a Christmas beer. You have this one. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah.
Just fade off into the distance like your very decadent beer.
I mean, the saving grace is that I'm feeling under the weather this week, so it's all right to have a bad beer because I wouldn't probably be able to taste all the beautiful things in a really good beer, So,
well, even when you're under the weather, it is all right to have a bad beer because there's always a good beer around the corner as well.
Yep, and I'll be picking those up next week.
You say that as someone who still lives in Bristol.
Yeah.
That is literally true for me. There is good beer around the corner. So, yes.
Oh, I know where you live.
Aadil, I see you still supping away.
I mean, it's because whatever the fuck a fluid ounce is, there's a lot in this bottle. And also, it's refreshing, sharp, crisp without being clean, so it has that slightly muddled thing, which is exactly why I really enjoy it. It's such a great farmhouse ale, as in the sense of like it's clearly a farmhouse ale, but it's doing something else. I would gladly have a second bottle almost any day of the year. Like it's a very good beer.
Nice.
The jealousy.
I think that's what I want to say. It's great. I'm glad I saved it for EP 350, but also I want more. So what I was gonna say is like it's so good, but also like in a quintessentially farmhouse ale way, I'm not like slamming it back. Like it has that length, right? Like because of the yeast that's involved, I'm not my palate is still engaged with it like minutes later. So the reason why this whatever a 9.4 fluid ounce / American pint is still going isn't because I was bored, is because I haven't felt the need to requench, because the tail is still just as interesting as most of like the taste.
It sates you. It satiates you just.
I'm fully sated, and then it's like, oh, I'll grab a sip.
Well,
and then when this gets low enough, I top it up, and it turns out that doesn't drain the bottle fast enough for this episode. It's really good.
I'll be reveling in your torture that you don't have another one. So that makes me feel better. At least.
I mean, what I want to say is, like, if this is any way related to the other things they do, if you see a Jester King thing, fucking grab it and tell me if I'm wrong, because I just think it's just one of those things where it's like, this is so clearly made.
I just want the bottle cap. Cool. I just want the bottle
No, I'm
cap.
really annoyed because I on the walk home, I had to buy a bottle opener and it stretched the cap a little bit, right? Because it's one of those bottle caps, so you can see it. And it's like, oh, this is a fun bottle cap. I'm annoyed that it wasn't like a clean.
Gives you an excuse to hunt them down again.
Oh, we'll hunt them down. I'm gonna kill that Jester King. Yeah. So anyway, it's a good beer, is what I'm saying.
Good.
I have because of this beer, I have faith in this brewer, not just because of the things I've heard before.
No, nice.
It seems like they're stocked on UK.
Yeah, they're not cheap. Like, I've looked up other
Beer
places that have...
Gonzo. That's the one that I go to in Coventry. Ooh, that I haven't been to in ages. But yeah, that's where I used to go to when I was pretending to do work. Oh yeah, got a few there. Yeah, three different ones. So. Oh, maybe I've been
Off to Coventry tomorrow.
At some point, maybe before the end of the year.
What's Coventry to you, like 30 minutes? Yeah.
Not far.
Nice. I mean, it's 30 minutes for me to get across Bristol to go to the bottle shop.
I mean,
so...
saying, I mean, it takes sometimes an hour for me to get to my bottle shop in Birmingham.
Yeah.
It's just that Coventry live right by the motorway, so it's like on and off.
No one's going to Coventry.
But you're talking about, like, taking time in Birmingham, and I shared Ben and I's story of the time we came to Cotteridge Wine's birthday, where both of us wandered the streets for various amounts of time, and they were like, what the fuck are you, and how do you have a friend who's the same? Like, yeah, Lucy's the only one who holds it together, and we left.
It was a night. It was a night.
Absolutely.
Best of nights. I just remember hanging on a street corner, drinking Cantillon. It was fun.
Just straight out of the bowl. Yep.
I remember the hours between 5 and 7 a.m. really well, but everything else not so much.
More of that to come, hopefully, in the future, I would assume.
Yes.
I mean, the older we get, the more we'll wander the streets. The earlier we'll start to wander the streets,
normal friend groups
probably.
work, but it's definitely ours as well.
Yeah. Good. Let's finish there for this episode. It's been 350 episodes. You can go back to your podcast service of choice and listen to all of them if you want, and give us a rating and review. It's always very helpful, and bring other people into the conversation. Tell them about us as well. We are at Tanked Upcast on the socials, on Twitter whilst it exists, on any of them whilst they exist, I suppose, but on Twitter and on Instagram. I'm at Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
and Aadil is
At the Omniarch.
We're not all doing quite as much as we were from the past sort of the first 6 months of the year. Loads of VODs of first looks that Aadil had been playing up on our YouTube, and they're probably not on Twitch anymore, are they? They only keep them for a certain amount of days.
No, Twitch is like a 30-day.
You can go and search for Out of Lives almost everywhere and hit our YouTube channel to see previous episodes and those plays that Aadil has done, plus other reviews. Or go to outoflives.net to see everything that we do. If you want to come and talk to us about beer or video games or anything else, movies, TV shows, come and talk to me about Andor. It's great. You can do that on our Discord, and just hit one of us up and we will send you a link for that. I think that's all the places. I think that's all the things. I think that's all the games and all the beers. It's not all the games we've missed, Lucy. It's all the beers that we've drank, at least within this 1 and a bit hours. It wouldn't be 350 episodes without me just drawing this out for far too long. We've been taking it away.
Bye. Someone should name 350 games.
Oh wow!
And they can't
Mario,
leave.
Like now?
Yeah, and they can't leave. And we just leave the stream going. But the other two leave.
World.
The one who's like
Mario Galaxy.
He started. It's him. He's doing it.
Wait, how
Drop
many was it?
into each
350? I'm gonna run the Mario games. Mario Party 1 through 8. That gets us. Oh, I've already lost
10
the
is
math.
enough.
That gets us to 307.
That'd be so easy. You just say Final Fantasy, all of them, and
You're
then
done,
you're up
yeah.
to like 5,000.
I'm
so,
actually, I think
yeah.
you'll find out that if there was a fantasy that was final, there would only be one.
If only.
Mm.
Oh dear. We're done. Goodbye.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So
Bye.
I have to say ciao. So I'll say ciao.
You said it twice now.
Yeah, I was naming a dog breed, the Chow Chow, and I hadn't actually said the thing, which ends the episode where you all say goodbye and I say ciao, which I've just done.
Ciao.
Bye. Ciao.
www.outoflives.net